On the morning of August 24th, 79 AD, the people of Pompeii woke up like any other day. They made breakfast, they went to work, kids played in the streets, merchants opened their shops. By that evening, 20,000 people would be dead, and the city they lived in would disappear from the earth for the next 1,700 years. And the most disturbing part, they had no idea it was coming. Pompeii was not some tiny village. It was a thriving, wealthy Roman city. It had paved streets, running water, public bathhouses, restaurants, theaters, and even fast food joints, places where you could walk up to a counter and order a hot meal. Archaeologists actually found 80 of them still intact. It had a population of around 20,000 people. It had its own government, its own economy, its own sports arena where gladiators fought. It was one of the most advanced cities of its time. People were proud to live there, and it sat right at the foot of a giant volcano. The thing is, they didn't know it was a volcano. They had no word for volcano. Mount Vesuvius had been dormant for so long that nobody alive had ever seen it erupt. To them, it was just a big, beautiful mountain with incredibly fertile farmland around it. They literally grew vineyards on the slopes of the volcano that would kill them. But there were warning signs. They just didn't understand what they meant. 17 years before the eruption, in 62 AD, a massive earthquake hit the region. It was so powerful it damaged buildings across the city. Some historians think this was Vesuvius waking up. The people of Pompeii rebuilt. They shrugged it off. In the days leading up to August 24th, smaller earthquakes kept happening. The ground was shaking constantly. Wells and springs dried up overnight for no reason. Animals started acting strange, dogs barking nonstop, birds disappearing completely. One Roman writer named Pliny the Younger, who was 17 years old at the time and watching from across the bay, wrote that the ground shook so constantly that people stopped even reacting to it. It was just background noise. Nobody connected the dots. At around 1 p.m. on August 24th, Vesuvius exploded. Not a slow rumble, not a gentle flow of lava, it detonated like a bomb. The eruption shot a column of ash, rock, and gas 20 miles into the sky. 20 miles. That's higher than most commercial planes fly today. It was so massive that people across the entire region could see it. Pliny the Younger described it as looking like a giant pine tree growing out of the mountain, a massive trunk of smoke shooting straight up, then spreading out sideways at the top. The sky went dark in the middle of the afternoon. Ash started falling on the city like snow. At first, people thought maybe they could wait it out. Some grabbed pillows to hold over their heads to protect themselves from the falling rocks. Some people tried to flee. Some people stayed. That decision would determine who lived and who died. For several hours, ash and pumice rained down on Pompeii. Buildings were collapsing under the weight of it. The streets were filling up. It was chaos, but people were still alive. Then at around midnight, everything changed. The eruption column collapsed. When a volcanic eruption column collapses, it doesn't just fall. It sends a pyroclastic surge racing down the mountain. A pyroclastic surge is a wave of superheated gas and ash moving at 180 miles per hour at temperatures up to 500 degrees Celsius. There is no outrunning it. There is no hiding from it. It travels faster than a race car, and it is hot enough to vaporize everything in its path. The first surge hit Herculaneum, a smaller city nearby. It killed everyone there instantly. By early morning, the surges reached Pompeii. Most of the people who had stayed, the ones who thought they could wait it out, died within seconds. The heat was so intense that it caused instant death. Not burning, not suffocating, instant. Their bodies were preserved exactly as they were in that final moment. When it was over, Pompeii was buried under 20 feet of ash and rock. The city simply ceased to exist. Survivors who escaped never came back. Eventually, people forgot exactly where it was. For 1,700 years, it just sat there underground, perfectly preserved. Because here's the thing about volcanic ash. It's not like regular dirt. It hardens, it seals, It protects everything it covers. When archaeologists finally excavated Pompeii in the 1700s and 1800s, they found things that shouldn't have survived. Loaves of bread still sitting in ovens, a pot of fish sauce still on a stove, graffiti on the walls, actual jokes, insults, love notes, election ads written by real people 2,000 years ago. They found a dog chained outside, still in the position it died in, collar still around its neck. They found a man who had died clutching a bag of coins. He went back for his money and it cost him his life. They found two people who died holding each other. And they found one man who died face down, one hand covering his face in what archaeologists could only describe as a position of absolute terror. Here's the part that gets people. The bodies themselves decomposed over the centuries, but because the ash hardened around them, the exact shape of each person in their final moment was preserved as a hollow mold in the rock. In the 1860s, an archaeologist named Giuseppe Fiorelli had an idea. He poured liquid plaster into the hollows. What came out were perfect casts of the people of Pompeii, frozen in the exact position they were in when they died. You can see the expression on their faces. You can see the fabric of their clothes. You can see a child curled up with their hands over their face. These casts are still on display in Pompeii today. You can go see them, real people, real expressions, frozen for 2,000 years. Pompeii is not just a history lesson, it's a reminder these were real people living real lives, eating breakfast, arguing with their neighbors, falling in love, planning for a future they would never see, and in one afternoon, all of it was gone. The city they built, the lives they lived, the world they knew, buried under 20 feet of rock. And the only reason we know any of this is because the same thing that killed them also preserved them. Subscribe to Max. Every week we cover the things you never knew you needed to know. See you next week.